Welcome back. I have a special guest today. I have my dear sister, our teacher, Yasmin mogahed. Y'all, I'm fangirling over here. I'm not supposed to fangirl because it's my show, but I'm fangirling. So welcome back to the Linda Sarsour Show, and welcome Yasmin mogahed.
Thank you, Linda. It's awesome.
I don't know what I did right in my life to have you on my show, but I'm excited anyway. So we're still at, Mass ICNA convention, and it's great. MashaAllah, there's so many awesome people around here, young people. I love this idea that there's a lot of young people here.
Yes.
And you've had talks, there's been other MashaAllah folks out here. Like, if people could leave Mass ICNA today, and there was that one thing that you wanted them to hold with them and kind of take back with them to their communities, to their homes, to their family, what would be that one thing?
Honestly, I think it would be this, and this is a message that I tried to take to RIS, and then I try to take it here, and that is this, that one of the sunan of Allah, one of the laws of Allah that He has created in the universe is this, and that is that change and growth take time. That change and growth is a process. It is not overnight. I know we are used to everything being instantaneous. We got obviously fast food. Now we have, we have the instant messaging, the instant everything. However, the reality of the sunnah of Allah is that real growth and development and change takes time. A forest doesn't grow overnight. A child doesn't get developed in a month, but actually it doesn't, or two even. It takes 9 months. And so I just want people to go home not giving up hope just because we have some speed bumps. We got some people in the office just now, and not to give up hope and to realize that yes, there's a process, and that the believers in the past have gone through a process, and we're just going through a process.
Absolutely. I mean, one thing that always it hurts my heart, but a lot of people there's real fear in our community, especially amongst young people. There's a lot of uncertainty and people not knowing what is to happen. What do you tell Muslims about, just finding that, first that patience, but also that moral courage to make it through these times?
Okay, that's a beautiful question. And I think that one of the stories I shared yesterday in my talk, it's one of my favorite stories. It's something got me through some very personal difficulties, some struggles of my own. And that was Musa alayhi salam from the Red Sea. Because I feel that so often in life we find ourselves in difficult situations where we feel stuck, where we feel powerless. Musa alayhi salam is sitting there, is there standing in front of the Red Sea with an army behind him, Pharaoh, and he's with slaves, his people. And just that ability to see through obstacles, that ability to not give up every time you see an obstacle in front of you. Allah shows us, and He juxtaposes the reaction of Bani Israel, who said, "Inna lamudrakun," indeed we will be overtaken. And then you have the reaction of Musa alayhi salam immediately after, "Qala kalla inna ma'i rabbi sayahdin." By no means will we be overtaken. By no means, He says, "Kalla." Indeed, my Lord is with me, and He'll guide me through. So my real advice to myself, remind myself first, and everyone else, is that if Allah is really with you, then you don't have to worry. That if Allah is with you, He'll get you through it.
You already know this. Every time I'm in a conference with you, girls are fangirls. And I think it's because to them, at least when I grew up, I didn't feel like I had a lot of Muslim American women who were role models to me.
Yeah.
I mean, my role model was my mother. My mother was a woman without a high school diploma. She was a housewife. She was raising 7 children. And that was who I wanted to be. I wanted to be my mother. I wanted to be loving. I wanted to be someone who can control, kids that were born in the span of 10 years, 7 children. And she cooked and she cleaned. And I literally was like, I just want to be my mom. Mm-hmm. And then as I grew older, I started seeing, Dahlia, and I started seeing all these other women, some of whom are not that much older than I am. But seeing other young girls who are younger than me being like, I want to be like Sister Yasmin. I want to be like Sister Dahlia. I want to be like Sister Dahlia Fahmi. I want to be like Ibtihaj. I want to be like... So, when young girls see you and they say, I want to be like Sister Yasmin, what kind of advice do you give to young women who think that you're maybe a little more far-fetched than they can go?
Well, to begin with, when people say that stuff, it scares me, to be honest. That's my first reaction. I actually sort of cringe, to be honest. I kind of pull back. And the reason for that is I never set out to be a role model for people. I'm struggling myself, just like everyone else. I feel as though we're all on this path, and everyone has their struggles and everyone has their path, and it's really scary actually to have people look at you as their example, because I don't feel qualified for that. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm in this with you. Like, all I'm doing is I'm expressing what I'm going through and what I'm learning, because I feel like that's our responsibility as a human family, right? You know, we're all in this boat together, and if I know something because I've been through it, I'm going to tell you about it, not because I think I'm some sort of role model or example. So actually that does scare me very much. However, I will say I do think it's important for us to have role models. You know, the work you're doing is so inspiring to people. That's necessary. We need that kind of thing. People who can show courage. I cannot emphasize enough how much we need courage. And I absolutely agree with you that this is a time, you know, where we really need to show courage. And that I do believe that it's absolutely connected to our spirituality, that you cannot really show courage unless you believe, as Musa alayhi salam did in that situation, that inna ma'iya rabbi, that indeed my Lord is with me. And if you have that firm belief, then and only then can you really show true courage, moral courage.
So if somebody could put you somewhere where that your message went out to the whole Muslim world, not just the Muslim Americans, literally, like you could send one message, and we know we have Muslim sisters and brothers oppressed all over the world, people, you know, losing hope and watching the destruction, watching, you know, the blood of their sisters and brothers, watching tyrants and oppressors, and watching what's happening in the United States, and people are saying, what is this time that we are in? And you had an opportunity to in one moment, just 1.7 billion Muslims were listening to Yasmin. What would be that message that you would want to tell your Muslim sisters and the Ummah?
Wow, that's intense. Okay, so my message would be this. Put Allah first. We need to go back to putting Allah first. I believe firmly, and I think that we have this message throughout our text, throughout the Quran and throughout the Sunnah, that our external state is a reflection of our internal state. And, you know, they say, you know, like the circumstances that we're in, the oppression that we're in is due to a disease that we have within ourselves. And so I would say we need to go back individually and collectively and as a world, as a community, with putting God first. And if we did that, if we could truly put God first in our moral dealings, in our financial dealings, in our family dealings, in our masjid dealings, our schools, then, as Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ, that indeed Allah does not change the condition of a people externally until they change the condition, until they change what's inside themselves. If we could go back to putting Allah first and having that consciousness of God in our shops, you know, the shopkeepers, the moms, the dads, the principals, the students, everyone, that's when our situation will really start to change, is really just getting our priorities back. And the second thing I would say is hope. Absolutely not losing hope. That Allah tells us in the Quran, أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Do you really believe and think that you will enter paradise without going through what those who went before you went through? مَسَّتْهُمُ الْبَأْسَاءُ وَالضَّرَّاءُ وَزُلْزِلُوا حَتَّى يَقُولَ الرَّسُولُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ مَتَى نَصْرُ اللَّهِ. They went through adversity and they were shaken. And they were so shaken that even the messengers and the people with the messengers are asking, when will the help of Allah come? أَلَا إِنَّ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ. Indeed, the help of Allah is near. And so that is really my message. Put Allah first. That Allah says, إِن تَنْصُرُوا اللَّهَ يَنْصُرْكُمْ. That if you put Allah first, if you put Allah first, Allah will give you victory. And that's really the message I think all of us need to go back to, that core message. And obviously part of that is compassion for others. That our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should be manifested in our compassion and our mercy and empathy for others.
So I mean, I'm sure this has been for other people too, but your book just like makes my heart whole when my heart is broken. And Reclaim Your Heart. Can you tell other people how can they get a hold of your book?
So Reclaim Your Heart is available online. When I travel, I bring copies with me as well. However, it is available online. Reclaim Your Heart is something that I wrote over a decade. It wasn't just like, you know, in the movies you sit in front of a typewriter and you just write out the book. It didn't happen like that. It wasn't glamorous. It didn't come out easy. I say that, you know, I tell people who are close to me that it was written with blood, sweat, and tears, literally, in the sense of I had to go through stuff in order to write that book from my own experiences, and I hope that it can help other people in similar situations. I've had people come up to me and tell me, you know, I lost my child and it helped me through that time. I got divorced, you know, it helped me through that time. I'm like you, I get attached to people. You know, a lot of people who say that I felt like you were describing me, and I felt like it really, it hit home, and I hope that it can, because it makes me feel as though sometimes we go through stuff. Why? So that we can help others. I believe that.
So Reclaim Your Heart touched me. I'm moved by it. I've read it like 3 different times in really hard moments. So I encourage you to get Sister Yasmin Mogahed's book, Reclaim Your Heart. And please help me thank her for being with us today on the Live the Star Story Show. Assalamualaikum.
Coming up, Dr. Jonathan Brown.